Hey everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica and the season finale of Philosophical Ponderings. I always wanted to end the season with the Stanley Parable, as it's the perfect example of objectivism versus determinism in philosophy, and it really is just a fun game beyond that. So let's just jump right in and talk about the Stanley Parable and what it means in a philosophical nature. Now, at the top note of this game is all about choice. You have a narrator, and he's telling you what to do. And you can either choose to listen to him and follow the storyline based on what it's telling you to do, or you can completely choose to make your own decisions. And that kind of comes in to the terms of objectivism or free will or determinism. Objectivism or free will is the concept that we all make our own decisions. I can choose to do whatever I want, and I am of my own free will to do so. Determinism tells us that all of our actions are actually predetermined. Whatever we choose, the cosmos, space, whatever you want to say, has chosen for you, and you're only taking those actions because it's been determined. The door on the left follows the storyline. That's determinism. It's telling you what you're supposed to do. The door on the right is objectivism. You are choosing to ignore the narrator and do what you would like to do. So this bilinear choice right here, left or right, yes or no, follow or lead, that is the concept of objectivism or determinism. But the game kind of plays around with that a little bit. It's not so cut and dry. On the left, we follow. On the right, we lead. And in this first example, I'm going to take the door on the right because that would be free will or objectivism. But as we go in, we're going to start noticing that the story is going to change to accommodate our choices, which is going to bring up a very interesting question. Is free will actually free? Determinism would tell us that every action that we take has been predetermined, but we have chosen to do something that the game is telling us not to do, exercising our free will. But then the game bends to be able to accommodate that choice. And that leads into a deeper question in a philosophical understanding, is whether or not our choices of free will actually are free. Now, I can decide to stand up right now and start jumping around, and I would think that that is something that I did of my own free volition. But maybe it's already been determined, and my ability to make that decision has already been calculated for me. The game even gives you an out right here. You can go back on the determinism path, or you can continue to go straight towards free will. But even as you see, when we make the decision, the game will still start to bend to what we want it to do. And the game wants you to think that you actually do have free will, but it is a game, and it's been coded to take into account everything you could possibly do. So in a way, it's emulating the idea of free will or objectivism, but it is controlling every action, even the one that you tell it not to do, because there is no way to make a game that gives you complete free will. Even in the most open world game, every single interaction, everything that you can see, everything that you can do has to be coded into that game with intention from the designer. So the reality is, a game that provides you with 100% free will is an impossibility. But what the Stanley Parable is asking is, free will a possibility in and of itself, or is every action that we've taken been predetermined? And when you actually start thinking about that from like a normal life perspective, it starts to get kind of confusing and deep and weighing on you, kind of the same way that I think if space is infinite but it also expands, what does it expand into? That concept in my mind just hurts my brain. And when you wonder whether or not you actually have free will in life, or if every decision you made has been predetermined by some otherworldly force or some higher entity or whatever you'd want to call it, you start to wonder, do I really have free will? Or is every choice I've ever made been made for me? And that's what the Stanley Parable is asking of you. And then as a game and as a narrative, the game designers, at least to me, and this is all my opinion, are telling us that even a game that has such creativity, that allows such freedom, is still an artificial construct. It has to plan for all the things that you did or didn't do. It has to have a story that accommodates all the choices that you've made that don't fit into the narrative of what the narrator is giving you. It even starts to pervert things in the way that the game starts to break down. The game wants you to think that you've done something so wrong that it's causing issues in the code. Obviously, that's just a visual flair, and we don't actually think we're breaking the game in the way that clipping outside the walls would break a game. But it gives you just enough rope and freedom to kind of hang yourself with, for lack of a better term. But now pivoting, and we're just going to go right into the other option, we're going to start listening to the narrator. And this would be determinism, which means that even though we have free will to take the door on the right, we're being told what our decision is, so it's being determined for us. So determinism would be the philosophy at play on the left-hand path because we're told to go to the left here, and we choose to do so. And that would be that the decision's been determined for us, kind of like in a game that has a lot of linearity, a lot of storytelling. There really is only one path to walk, so all our decisions have been made for us in advance. And I do like how the game just kind of touches on a little bit of the jokes of the office environment of how not to get fired, do a great job, and try not to anyway. It does kind of skew, kind of that working environment. It skewers it and kind of makes fun of it, which is a different layer to the game, but we're really here to talk about free will or choice. And even when you get to the stairs here, we go upstairs. We're following the entire narrative now, which would mean that we don't have free will. We don't have objectivism. Determinism is at force right here. And the game will even give us in the narrative things that we're not supposed to know, things that we wouldn't be able to know. And I'll let you listen to this part so you understand it, and then I'll come right back and we'll finish up the video on the Stanley Parable.
Unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845.
Obviously, in real life, there would be no way for Stanley to know what the door code is, and that kind of hews towards that gut feeling or knowing something's going to happen, whether it's good or bad, before it does. That inexplicable realization that we feel like we actually predicted the future or had a feeling of what might happen in advance, and it's right. Now, granted, mathematically, if you have feelings, eventually some of them are going to be right, some of them are going to be very right. Is the question whether or not determinism was in play and that we somehow were able to look past the veil and understand what was coming next? Or is it just a random roll of the metaphorical dice where what we thought might happen happened exactly how we thought it would? And that's kind of what the Stanley Parable is all about. Does free will exist? Has everything been determined? Can we choose our own course of actions? Can we lead our own independent life? Or are a lot of things beyond our control and it's just easier to tell ourselves that we're in control of them versus actually thinking? And even right here, you have one last choice. You can escape from the narrative. You can go back on the path of free will, even if the game is going to kind of artificially control your free will. Or you can go forward into the mind control facility and let the game make all the choices for you, i.e. listening to the narrator and having no actual free will going on that determinism path. And that is the Stanley Parable, and that is Philosophical Ponderings, 10 episodes on 10 different games that had deep philosophical storylines and bends. It's been a lot of fun making each and every one of these, and I hope that you found out about some new games, you learned about some new ways to think about how games work, their stories, their mechanics, everything that goes into making a unique experience. But we will be back next Tuesday with a brand new season on a brand new topic. We're not going anywhere, and we will still be back on Fridays and Sundays with more videos as well. But we really hope you guys enjoyed these. It's been a lot of fun making them. If you could do us a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe. Definitely helps us out. If you believe you have free will, it's your choice. If it's determinism, then go down there and hit it because it's already been decided. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.